So, um, going over now to the martial art aspect, which I've been dying to talk to you about.
Okay.
Um, I'm surprised actually that you haven't done a karate game,
Yeah,
and I bet you've been asked this um, quite a few times.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I have been.
Is
I
there
have been.
a reason? Is there a reason, or is it? I'm wondering because obviously myself, I've done karate myself for many years. So I've stopped now. Um, but is it because it's the way I feel about the way I used to feel about karate was it was a personal part of me that was completely separate to everything else in my life, and I
Yeah.
never wanted to join it to anything. Does that ring true with yourself?
Yeah, it sort of is. But the other thing with it is that it's like there are certain things that are really easy to do.
Hmm.
You know, if you're going to make a game, one of the easiest things they say to do, and I kind of agree with it, is to make a platformer, right? And then the next thing that's easy to do is like make a shooting game that's like just a rudimentary firing in one direction, enemies firing the other direction. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's certain things that are like they're really easy to code actually, and it's like if you'd got somebody sat with you, you could teach them how to do it as well. It's like it's pretty simple stuff to get your head round. With a fighting game, it's a totally different ball game because it like everybody everybody sees a game as what they see on the screen, but what you don't see on the screen is the game. So, like, what I mean by that is it's all of the invisible components and elements that are on the screen that they're just not rendered to you as the player,
Okay.
right? So, like, if you look at, say, Street Fighter 2
Hmm.
or a similar game, right? What you don't see as the player is the amount of hitboxes that are there
I've
on
got
each
you.
character.
Yeah.
And it's that's the difficulty, and it's not just that. It's you could get a sprite on screen to throw a punch, and it would look like a proper punch and all the rest of it, but then as the programmer, you've got to know at exactly what point and what frame you should activate that punch's hitbox
Yeah.
to deliver the strike. And then you've got to look at the opponent, where did it hit, which hitbox. And before you know it, this simple idea of a character punching another character or kicking another character becomes this massive puzzle.
Hmm.
And it's like I guess what I'm trying to say is a fighting game just isn't easy to do. It's not simple. And even like, I've been doing karate since I was 5, right? So I'm up to like 30, God, how old am I? 38 years now I've been doing karate. So like, I know all of the moves. I know what they should look like. I could probably draw them. Do you know what I mean? But it's the technical challenge of programming a fighting game. It's like one of the
Right.
hardest, I would say, to do.
Okay.
And for that reason, there are certain games that I would love to do, and that's one of them. I'd love to do a fighting game.
Hmm.
I would also love to do a racing game, right? And in my head, I know what the challenges are,
Okay.
and like I don't want to start something that I know is beyond what I could do, or if I did it, it would just be like, yeah, do you know what I mean? And it's done. Um, and so I'm sort of it's a bit like that ninja game that you asked about.
Yeah.
I'm parking it until I'm at a level where I think I can tackle it. Because I mean I'm still in like babyland in terms of like being a developer and all that stuff. I've got a lot to learn. I don't know everything. There's like a million things I sort of should know,
Hmm.
and I only know a like little sliver of it all to get a game going. It's like it's just the technical challenge of doing a fighting game. Do you know what I mean? If you look at things like Smash Brothers, which is a phenomenal game, and if they want to bring out a new character, how long does it take them to bring a character out? Do you know what I mean? And when you think about it, it's like, well, yeah, if that was a car game, the model would be done and the car would be in the game.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? It's like it's a totally different thing, because then you've also got, yeah, you've got to create that character and its move set and the hitboxes and all the rest of it, but then you've then got to play against that character with all the other characters and make sure it's all balanced still. Because it's the classic, isn't it? If you get one OP character in a game, say if you've got 40 characters in a fighting game and you've got one that trumps everybody, those other 40 characters are totally pointless.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like Smash Brothers is brilliant because it's so well balanced. You've got some high tier characters in it, but there's usually something that can counter something else.
I need that's one game I need to sit down and play.
Yeah,
Because for me, if I had to list a few like fighting games that I loved, it'd be like the original Kung Fu Master,
yeah.
Vigilante. Did you ever play Shaolin's Road? It was like a jumping
Uh,
platform one. It was a sequel. It was like the unofficial sequel to Ya Kung Fu.
yeah, I was going to say
Yeah.
that then. Yeah,
And then you got my favourite arcade machine, and still one of my favourite arcade, Karate Champ.
yeah,
Love that machine.
yeah,
And then you got IK Plus, International Karate, Way the Exploding Fist.
yeah,
So all those old karate games. What else was that? Way of the Tiger. Oh man, it's all I used to play was probably the same as yourself. It's all I used to play was the karate or kung fu games. But Street Fighter Alpha for me. Street Fighter Alpha 2,
yeah. I'm the same. I would say Alpha 2
and then
is
anything
my
after
favorite.
that, it's just nah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'm with you on Street Fighter Alpha 2. That's my favorite as well.
love it.
Yeah, but like Ryo and Ken in that are like tremendous, and they're like the
That's,
mains for me as well.
so it's all what me and my
Um,
mate play.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, if I was gonna do a karate game, it would be like the traditional, you know, two combatants on a mat. Like what's the original game called? You just mentioned it,
Karate Champ.
Karate Champ. Yeah, it
Mm.
would be like a Karate Champ one, where it's like,
It's probably the
you
most
haven't got.
accurate one as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say so.
When you
What's
look at the
funny about that?
animation, the you know,
Yeah, yeah. Most of like the blocks are in there, aren't they, and
yeah,
everything, and the character does attempt to block moves as well
yeah.
when you like, pull back or whatever. So it would probably be something like that. But where the other difficulty in doing this sort of stuff is that, like, when people say to you, "Well, why don't you do this game?" It's like, well, you know, you've got to think about what the other character's doing, because there's an artificial intelligence there that's like,
Got to put that AI in,
that's
haven't you? Yeah,
that's all got to be coded, and that's another skill. And it's like that's going to have predetermined responses to whatever I'm doing, and have enough random to make it so that it's not unbeatable. If that makes sense.
unless you do two player only.
Yeah, you could do it two player only. You could do it two
I'm just
player
going to come
only.
up with excuses here for you to make.
Yeah, yeah, but that's it, exactly what I do as well. Like, I've got these limitations of what I'm capable of,
Hmm.
and I'll come up with an idea to work around it. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it's like just an idea that ends up getting shelved because I'm just not ready to do it. And
Yeah.
that's where I am with doing like a karate style game.
Hmm.
I'd love to,
Yeah.
but I need to be confident enough that I can code that AI so that it's doing something rather than just being a punching bag. And you the real difficulty is you've got to kind of be challenged, haven't you, when you play a game and feel like you've overcome something.
Yeah.
And it's just a technical challenge of of doing that.
And then you've got to step up that AI, haven't you, for each level?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And then like the more you break stuff down and think about it, one you really appreciate even some of what people would regard as really bad fighting games. You think, actually, you know what I mean? It's actually quite a good game. It's just not as good as the other 100 fighting games you've ever played.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You start to appreciate stuff, but there's so much goes on in a fighting game
Well, I'm
on
not.
a technical.
I was going to say I'm not a fan of like the Mortal Kombat games. I love the look of them, and
Yeah,
I love the fatalities and everything,
yeah,
but they're just not fluid for me. Whereas
yeah. They,
Street,
they don't seem as deep as Street Fighter. Street Fighter's got the rock paper scissors element to it,
oh,
hasn't it?
it's just so not every version of it, but the good ones like Alpha Two and what's the other one? Have you ever played Tatsunoko versus Capcom on the Wii?
Yeah,
Man,
yeah,
that's an amazing game. Love that.
yeah.
Again,
Do you,
that fluidness in it.
yeah. Do you know what's amazing about the Street Fighter 2 thing though?
Go on.
Is that you know the stagger mechanic where like you hit them low down in the hitbox and
Yeah.
they're sort of stunned.
Hmm.
That was just a bug.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, it was just a bug and it just became a feature. It's like amazing. Like, I don't think they even, you know, preempted putting that in the game,
Hmm.
but they just realised that if they hit a certain hitbox with a particular high move or whatever, that it like the character would momentarily like not respond, and then they used it as this stagger mechanic, where you land a couple of consecutive hits then and they're dazed as well. But it's just mad the things that just like by magic you
Well,
get a bug and it just happens.
it's like penicillin, isn't it? All these genius ideas or miraculous things happening. It's all by a mistake.
Karate's it'll make its way in,
I do
but
hope so.
it's uh,
So you've been doing it since you
yeah,
were 5.
yeah, yeah.
Oh
So I
wow.
started. It's really weird because I ended up sort of running the club that I originally started in as well,
Oh, that's
which is
mental.
strange. Yeah, which is crazy. So started at 5. Trained with a guy called Kevin Cooper. He used to, I think he used to be on the England squad and all the rest of it.
Okay, I've never heard of that guy.
No, no, he's not. He's not part of like the people that we know
Hmm.
on that scene. Um, and then started training. I left for a few years and went kickboxing, and then went back to karate. But by that time, Kevin had gone, and where that club was, there was a new club, and that was being run by Clive and Mark Tranter, who used to train with Les,
Okay.
our friend.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, carried on training with them. Clive left, um, now lives in Spain. His son Mark kind of gave it up and passed it all over to me. Um, and that's the canon now. That's the club that I'm running. We've obviously moved, but yeah. So it's just been doing it a really long time.
It's amazing how much it's changed, though, isn't it? Karate.
Yeah,
I mean, I started off. I started off when I was 11, I think. There was a little community centre, and my mate got me to go along and did a couple of lessons, and I was like, "Oh man, I love this," but didn't get the feel for the club.
mm,
And then um, I found a club. Where was it? Where was it at the time? It would have been at Wilson Hall in Colligate.
right.
And the centre at the time was Jerry Ward. Don't know if you know that name.
Yeah, recognise
Um,
it.
yeah, you probably know his son, Dean Ward. So I trained under Jerry
Right.
up until, blimey, I was probably about 17. Got my blue belt. Um, and same again. I had a bit of a break, but one of the guys who used to train with Jerry
Yeah.
Terry Silvers. He decided to make his own club, and he was at one of my old high schools, and it must have been about I must have had like a 4 year break, and I was like, you know what, I want to get back into this. Popped along to Terry's club, and that was it then.
Hooked up.
I carried on until got my second dan, and yeah, then I stopped doing it again, and then I met Les, started training with him a bit, and that was when I started having problems with my hip,
Yeah.
and arthritis was kicking in, and I started having problems with my back, and and then unfortunately I had to leave his club, and then I got this great idea that I wanted to go back with all that. Started training
Nick.
with Nick because he'd left
Yeah.
Leslie's,
Yeah.
and then the pandemic hit, and then I haven't done it since.
Oh, okay.
But the main thing for me was to get my son into it, and to teach him old school
Yeah.
Shotokan, what I was taught,
Yeah.
um, and to give him that way of thinking. And one thing I'll say about Les, he has got some of that old school element with him, because he's done
Yeah.
it for a long time, hasn't he? Because there's a lot of clubs out there. There's a lot of McDojos about, isn't there?
Yeah. Too
Unfortunately,
many. Too many.
far too many, far
Yeah.
too. I mean, you know him straight away. There was a club before I found Leslie's. There was a club at the leisure centre just up the road from me, and my son's friend wanted. My son's friend was doing karate there, and I went along and took my son. And the first thing that they did as soon as we walked in was try to sell us some merchandise straight away. Right, so that was the first no, and then
Yeah.
I was watching this so-called black belt, and he looked to me as though he'd probably been training for about 6 months, and all he was doing was just doing general exercises. Because you pick up on when you've done it for so long, you pick up on all these things, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
The way they
Yeah.
are, the way they move, the stances,
Yeah.
everything about them. And yeah, didn't stay there very long.
No, it's not good, is it?
Just
Well,
just
it's
walked
like
out.
I've given the key to our club to a few of the students now, because
Okay.
they can get there earlier than I can get there,
Yeah.
just to open up and so they can all practice.
Yeah.
And I'll get there early, as
Mm.
in like, 15 minutes before the class is about to start. But I'll walk into something that it looks like there's already a class going on. Do you know what I mean? And they're all just practicing. It's like the discipline. Well, exactly what you're saying. You walk into the room and you can sort of see the discipline
Yeah.
as soon as you walk in, can't you?
Yeah.
And like, there's nobody. There's like a couple of young lads in there that are like 8, 9 years old. Do you know what I mean? And they're just there training
Mm.
with like the adults just stood the side of them, doing exactly what they're doing. Total respect for everybody, and like, that is the old school way.
Yeah.
Whereas the McDojo, you walk in and there'd just be kids sitting around, running around, loads of noise.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, there's something to be said for walking into a room that's kind of, it's got, say, 15 people in it, all moving around doing karate or whatever, and you can't hear anything.
No.
And it's like a lovely, like, I don't know. There's just something about pushing that door open, bowing to everybody. They all stop what they're doing, they bow to you, and then they just carry on.
Yeah. Well, it's etiquette, isn't it?
Yeah,
Which is greatly lacking in a lot of clubs.
yeah.
Um,
But it is, and that's the thing I think with the karate that I love the most is like well, it's not the fact that they're all like bowing to me, of course, which is part of the etiquette, but it's just the fact that it's there. You know what I mean? The etiquette is there. It's throughout the entire hour and a half. I mean, we don't even have like a break for a drink. We don't do any of that because I don't believe in it. Do you know what I mean? It's like I think that you turn up and you're training for an hour and a half. So as soon as you hear the word line up, that's it. If you didn't have a drink beforehand, you're not having one sort of now
Yeah.
for me. So like they'll ask to have the windows open, and I'll just say no. Yeah, but then I'm training with them. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm not asking them to do something that I'm not enduring myself.
No, no.
But it's like, well, no, this is hard training. You train through it, sort of thing. Um, but yeah, I love all of that, and I love the fact that like with that, there's no um, the entire thing just doesn't derail at all. It's like the class starts, and you all do what you're told to do, which you could argue that well, you just follow me, but yeah, you all do exactly what you've been asked to do, I should say, and like there's no compromise with it. You've just got to do what you've been asked to do. It's like when you do the partner work, you know, if you're told to attack somebody, out of respect, you've got to go, haven't you? You've got to attack them.
Mm.
You can't like put a half move out because it's disrespectful. You've got to go for it, and it's I just love all of that. Like it's and I've never stopped doing it that way. To be fair, but I'm very fortunate because all of the people that train there, they all want to do it that way. If that makes sense, I think that's where you get the problem when you get somebody start who's seen the Karate Kid. Do you know what I mean? And nobody's told them from the get go. It's nothing like that. You know what I mean? It's like you're not going to get your belt every 3 months. You're not going to get any of that nonsense. It's like you've got to train and earn it all. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's why I'm still doing it, to be honest. Because um, like you're experiencing health issues now, and I've got like my knees are bad. Um, I've been doing it that long that like my joints are probably older than somebody's should be my age, if that makes sense. Like there's more wear on my joints
Do,
doing the
do you get it in
stances.
your elbows as well? Almost like a
Um,
tennis elbow.
not so much. When I have had that, but it's come and gone,
Mm.
and I get a lot of problems that do come and go. So nothing's kind of lingering just yet. But I had a weird one where something had like popped in my foot. It's like a strange injury.
Oh wow.
I was
Okay.
doing kata was I doing? I was doing Niju show, right?
Wow.
And just for some reason, just something popped in my foot. Looked at my foot later, and it was like the entire like bottom of my foot was bruised. Looked like internal bleeding or something was going on.
Blimey.
Anyway, carried on training, but every like few weeks I'll have this thing again. Um, but it's just weird, isn't it? You just carry on. You
Yeah.
just carry on training,
It
just train
was
through it.
it was the way, but I think because of that way I was taught, it's actually done me no good
Yeah,
because there was obviously a problem there. I'd be in pain and I'd carry on, but I've made it worse.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there's got to be a line somewhere, hasn't there?
Yeah, well, we don't do things now that are like um, because a lot of the guys that train at the club, they've got bad backs, they've got bad knees.
Oh, it
Do you know
sounds
what I
like I'll
mean?
fit in.
Great, mate. You'll be one of the young fit lads.
Bloody hell.
But yeah, so because of that, things like your traditional bow and stuff. Although it's very respectful to do a traditional bow,
Hmm.
which, as you know, means getting down on your knees, bowing, all the rest of it. You know, I actually think, well, it's more respectful for me not to enforce that on them because he's going to put them in pain doing it and stuff. So, just stop doing it because it's going to hurt the guys getting down there to do what? To pay respect to people that aren't here anymore and all the rest of it.
So what do you do? Just standing raised now then?
Just stand and bow now, and
Yeah.
then we just start the lesson. So, you know, you do start drawing the line in the sand with some of the stuff. But what is like gutting about it really is things like that, that have evolved now where that people understand the wear on the joints from locking your leg out when you kick thin air and stuff like that. And the same with the punching, and would have done your elbow no good.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And all that sort of stuff. Most other sports, they'll be punching a bag or punching a pad, won't they? So
Yeah,
you're not locking out into thin air, and that's probably the thing that's done the most damage to us.
it probably is, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Um,
No, no,
I just
no. I
wish that
mean,
I just wish that.
it didn't come with a pain.
Well, it. I don't know if it's like a pride thing. I don't know, but the reason why I had to stop doing it at Leslie's because in my head I knew how good my kicks used to be,
Yeah,
and then when you suddenly can't do a Mawashigiri anymore, and you can only do. I mean, my Moyagaris I'm still good, so anything
yeah,
front wise
yeah.
I'm
But
still
it's the
okay.
rotation of the hip.
But any of that rotation of the hip
Yeah,
from a Mawashigiris or Shiro Mawashigiris, anything like that, I just can't do it anymore. Even though in
yeah. What?
my
Yeah, you
brain's
still
going
do.
right, twist there, you
Yeah,
do that, so I can map it all out in my brain still. So I can still teach, I can still show somebody how to do it properly. But it's
yeah.
just frustrating for myself.
No, I
But
get that.
that's where my son comes in. That's why I need to get him back into it.
Yeah. But
Um,
what I do with the kicking and things is that there's one guy who's got like bad knees,
mm,
and then I've got another guy who's got like a really bad back. Not bad to the point that they need to stop training, but I won't ask them to do anything that I know is going to be you know bad for that condition. So like I'll teach a technique, and then I'll just turn around to those guys and say just swap the kick, for whatever you can comfortably do, because there's no point to it. Do you know what I mean? It's like I did say that, yeah, there's no compromise, but what I mean by that is you're going to train hard. There's no compromise to putting the effort in and training hard.
mm,
But you haven't got to do every move I've told you to do. If it's going to cripple you doing it, that is where you kind of should be saying, right, well, I'm not doing that because it's going to injure
yeah.
me more.
My
But
problem is I'm stubborn.
no, no. Well, the thing is that realistically, you don't want to let yourself down, so you really want to attempt to do it and
it's
see yourself doing it properly. But
it's the way I was taught, and
yeah,
obviously the way you were taught, and
yeah,
to get out of that mindset is difficult. I did Aikido for a couple of years as well,
yeah,
while I was having a break from karate, and I thought I'll do Aikido because there's a lot of Aikido in karate, isn't there?
yeah,
And it's a wonderful martial art. Aikido is. It gets a lot of bad press, and I think it's because of Steven Seagal, and nobody likes him on YouTube.
yeah.
But I tell you something, it's what people don't realise is when they watch a lot of these videos, they're just thinking you're just falling over for that person. But
Yeah.
what they don't
But
realise is because of the movement and because of the locks and stuff. If you don't train that person to fall properly,
yeah, they get their
they
arm broke.
get their arm broken, the wrist. You'd have a broken wrist at every lesson.
Yeah,
Um,
well, that is the thing. When you see people flipping over, it's because they're following their arm, and if they don't, it
you've lost
gets
your arm.
you've lost your arm.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
first thing they teach you. The first thing they teach you in Aikido is how to do a break fall, your
roll.
forward roll, and your backward
Yeah,
roll. First thing
yeah.
they teach you, because if they didn't, you would
There's
be
nothing
injured
else.
straight away.
Yeah, yeah. What
Um,
what amazes me with Aikido, because I've done Aikido as well,
hmm,
is when they first start showing you what they would term to be the simple stuff, right? And it's murderous on
yeah,
you.
hmm,
There's no escaping. You can't flip out of that stuff. It's the joint locks and stuff.
yeah.
It's absolute agony
Oh,
when they put it on.
simple positions, and it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, I used to burst out laughing in Aikido, because it used to fascinate me. Because I'd be like, I can't believe, to a martial art brain,
Are
you're
you
like,
are you that are you that guy in Enter the Dragon that starts laughing when Bruce Lee's kicking that guy in the face
oh, I must
in the
be,
background?
I must be, mate, I must be. The only thing I will say about they, I used to get to the Hayden Hill one,
Yeah,
and they had to change, a few of their practices because I come from the Shotokan background. they couldn't move me because of my stances.
Yeah,
So they had to change a couple of things. It wasn't my fault because in Aikido you have to be completely relaxed, whereas obviously in karate you're relaxed up until the point of impact. But
yeah,
because I was still, my brain was still doing that, they were struggling with some to showing me some of the things. So I had to try and
yeah. Relax more.
revert. Oh, that was a night. Just trying to relax. That was a nightmare. That
Yeah.
was the hardest thing to learn.
But the thing with the thing that people don't get with Aikido is, that there are strikes in Aikido, aren't there?
Yes.
Like they see just the block, the redirect, the throw, the whatever. But there's the atemi waza, and there's like
Yeah.
you hit before you do that stuff normally,
Yeah.
to soften your enemy up.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously people would resist, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Whereas if you've just smacked them, do you know what I mean? If you just hit them in the face, they're not going to be like tensing their arm up.
No.
It's like the last thing they'll be doing, and that's when your throw would come in.
Mm.
So like it's like old judo. There was punches and kicks in judo originally, but now it's all tournament judo that's taught. It's like that's gone. Um, but yeah, the Aikido stuff is absolutely brutal. But it's funny you mentioned Steven Seagal because our friend James sent me a link to Jesse Enkamp meeting Steven Seagal. And, I've never known anyone who's sort of the best thing to happen to an art and the worst thing to happen to an art at the same time.
Is he the guy who's always advertising karate gis?
The karate nerd, he might be. I don't know what his sponsors are. I don't watch his channel enough.
Okay.
But but Steven Seagal is, I mean, he's phenomenal at Aikido,
Mm.
but I wish he would leave it at that. This entire thing about like trying to prove that you're the best, toughest bloke on the planet and all this stuff, just like leave it alone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
enough
because
people have.
well, you've only got to look at it. He don't look the fittest bloke in the world, does he?
No, I mean, in fairness to him, he doesn't have to be.
He can still
But the point
move.
is, yeah, he can still move, but he's not humble at all. There's no, do you know what I mean? He's not a humble guy, is he?
No, and
He's like,
that's he.
and that's the big problem.
It is. It's a major problem. Yeah.
Because anybody who's done a martial art will know you can train all your life. It really doesn't matter.
No.
If somebody lands one on you, you'll go out the same as everybody else.
Yeah. They catch you in the right way. Yeah.
They catch you in the right place and it's game over. This ain't a Bruce Lee film. It's
No.
like real life.
Mm.
Somebody hits you, good chance your body will shut down just the same as everyone else's.
Yeah.
So like and there's no air about him that like exhibits that. Is that he's just like, well, I'm the toughest guy on the planet, and if you do that to me, I'll break your arms. Like, come on, Stephen, give it up, mate.
That's one of the first things you have to get through to new students. Is it that I'm not going to turn you into a Superman,
Yeah, yeah,
and you're
yeah.
not going
You're
to be
not gonna be
dodging
Bruce Lee.
bullets.
Nah,
If somebody comes up to you with a gun or a knife and asks for your wallet, give them your wallet.
is it,
Just so you
yeah,
can go home. You got nothing to prove. It just gives that, 5%, maybe 10% better chance of getting
of
out of a
surviving
sticky
it.
situation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not even winning a fight sometimes, it's just surviving it.
Yeah.
But it's like that, and that's what people don't get with martial arts. And I wish somebody would have the conversation with Steven Seagal and say, because there's everyday people that would beat him with no training.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
there's
Like,
some
there's
hard
some
blokes out
naturally,
there
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and some
Well,
massive
that's the
blokes.
thing, yeah. But he hasn't got that about him to like even give that up. Do you know what I mean? I heard a story about, I don't know what comedian it was, but Steven Seagal was always challenging whoever like one of the other stunt guys was and saying, what martial art do you do? And he'd tell him, he'd say, I bet if you put me in a headlock, I'd get out of it in like 3 seconds or something. And this guy was like, not going to happen. Because like Steven Seagal was like the gaffer on the film set.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? It's like being outed by your gaffer. You're just going to keep saying no. And in the end, this guy must have gone to like the producers and said, look, Steven Seagal keeps telling me to put him in a headlock. He keeps telling me to, and I keep saying no. But he keeps asking, what do I do? And the one guy just said, yeah, put him in the just put him in the headlock, right? And apparently, according to this comedian, I can't remember who it was, but Steven Seagal struggled that much to get out of this headlock that he like absolutely sort of shat himself on set. And I think the bloke choked him out in the end. But like, that's the toughest guy on the planet,
Yeah,
giving it large. And you
it's
just think, well, why has he put himself in that position? You don't hear of Jean-Claude Van Damme doing that. If
yeah.
somebody said to Jean-Claude Van Damme, I tell you
Or
the best,
Chuck Norris.
or Chuck Norris,
Yeah.
yeah, they would both give it the absolute humility it deserves, and say, well, actually, no, but he's unbeatable. The best one I ever saw was an interview with it's an old interview. They got uh, Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson on the set, and the question comes up: who do you think would win? If you two fought now, or you fought back in your prime, sort of thing. And Muhammad Ali turned around and he said, "Well, he said I can dance around. I'm the best at dancing in the ring and all this, that, and the other." He says, "But if Mike hits me, it's all over." And Mike Tyson just turned around and said, he said something like, I'm very vain." He said, "But everybody on the planet has got to agree that this is the best that there ever was and the best that ever will be." He said something like that about Muhammad Ali. I can't remember exactly what it was, but like you got two of the toughest blokes on the planet there, genuinely the toughest. You forget about all the movies and stuff.
Mm,
These blokes have proved it in the ring,
they have.
fighting real athletes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Muhammad Ali was amazing.
even they've got enough about them to be humble
Yeah.
and say, actually, not interested in the question,
Mm. I think
because
Tyson.
it's like,
I think Tyson would win though.
yeah, oh mate, he'd bite his head off.
Because the thing is with Tyson, he didn't just train to be a boxer. He had to, if you listen to some of his life story and where he grew up,
Yeah,
he
he's
was
a
pretty much,
survivor.
he was surviving to live, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah,
Against knife crime. And if you've been brought up in that environment, straight away, you're dangerous. You really are.
yeah.
Um, it's bad enough being brought up in Collegate
Thousand.
or Tipton or you know, you know what I mean.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, I think you know where I'm coming from there.
Yeah, I know. 4 years old and you've been given a flick knife for
Oh,
Christmas.
flaming now. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 mate. But yeah, I mean that Steven Seagal is just he's his own worst enemy, because if he just humbled himself, people would respect him then for being just really good at Aikido. He's an Aikido master.
I was going to say he's highly regarded by so-called like Japanese schools, isn't
Yeah, yeah,
he?
yeah. Well, I reckon he was like the first Westerner to open a school in Japan or whatever.
Which is unheard of.
It's unheard of. But then you think, well, yeah, because he probably wasn't up his own backside then,
But yeah,
but he is now.
because
He's trying to cling on to his fame and it's gone.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you got to agree as well. His movies, when they first come out, were quality.
Well, I was just going to say Nico, brilliant film.
Yeah, yeah,
Hard,
yeah. Hard to Kill.
Hard to Kill.
Yeah.
What else was
Oh,
there?
there's the other one.
Under
There's Nico,
Siege.
Hard to
Under
Kill,
Siege.
Under
No,
Siege.
Under
Nobody
Siege.
beats me in the kitchen. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, his films were quality, and he was what he was doing we hadn't seen before. Do you
No,
know what I mean? The audience just didn't know what Aikido
it
was.
was just all
Yeah,
them
yeah, and it was
breaks and
and it was gory. I mean, sticking a corkscrew in somebody's skull
yeah.
and all of that sort of stuff.
You just had to ignore the running scenes, didn't you?
Oh, with his hands,
What was that all about?
don't know. He's getting there quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not very good at track and field, that guy.
Oh
But
mate, it
yeah,
is a shame because yeah, I love Steven Seagal, but all these videos that have come out on YouTube and just his attitude towards people, because I don't think anybody likes him. I mean,
no,
and that's another thing I'll say as well about a martial artist. Um, you don't come across really many arseholes, do you, when it comes to martial arts, because they've all done they've they've all put the graft in. Uh,
Yeah,
it changes you as a person. And I think if you are a bit of an arsehole doing a martial art, then I don't think you're a very good martial artist to start with.
no,
You can't
I
be.
don't. I don't think you're around very long either if
No.
you are, because it's not. It used to be back in like the 80s and the 90s when it was just hard, and it
Oh
was
God,
like
yeah.
as you remember,
Senses
there were
treading on your stomach with your,
yeah,
you know.
there were more arseholes back then
Mm.
because that was like the environment was welcoming to them.
Hardened you up though.
Yeah, hardened you up, and they were great to train with in that respect because you'd be training to deal with violence, and you'd got people there that were violently trying to smack your face in all the while.
Yeah.
So you were dealing with exactly what you went there to train to deal with
Mm.
all the time, which is lost now because obviously you can't sustain that nowadays, and it was wrong even back then. You look back at it and think, well, yeah, it was good training, but realistically, there's smarter ways of doing it. Um, but yeah, like nowadays, you're right. I think people have got more of a respect for what's involved, haven't they? And also, I don't know, but like people's time seems to be respected more now.
Yeah.
And this idea that you go, what is weird about that whole trading in the 80s and 90s thing was we were paying people to be treated like that.
Mm.
We were actually paying money for people to beat us up
Yeah.
and fight people and shout at us. Do you know what I mean?
But when I think about some of the training methods that we used to do
Yeah.
compared
When
to
they used to,
today.
when they used to all lie down in a row and just sit ups and they'd run across your stomach.
Yeah, that's it. Or
All of the old stuff that like people would see now in like a Jackie Chan film was like the training, where they got like people standing on the legs and stuff.
mm.
We were all doing that
Oh
and
yeah,
punching.
in Kibadachi. So you'd be in Kibadachi,
Yeah, including that.
somebody be
Somebody
on.
stood on your back
Yeah,
and you'd be punching and
yeah,
you'd be there for minutes. You
yeah,
wouldn't be there for seconds, you'd be there for minutes.
yeah,
And everyone would be in agony.
yeah. We used to
And
do.
then
Did you ever used to do I ho?
what's that one?
So
It,
if
it might have been called something different in Cosley.
I don't think it was a region thing. It was almost
Are
like
you
a
referring to my height when you say hi ho?
I ho. What we used to. So if somebody was playing up or there was too much noise in the dojo, everybody would have to get down and do I ho. So basically, you went down to crouch level.
Yeah,
So you basically you're walking while you knelt down on your
yeah,
legs and you go all around the dojo. So you get all that burn on your quads. Brilliant
yeah,
training, but that was the punishment. That was one of the punishments.
yeah. The
And then,
worst one was sorry, carry on. There's more to that.
and I was going to say, and obviously training with press ups
Yeah,
on your knuckles and then your fingers and all that kind of stuff. It was all good track. And then you had the Kibadachi one with somebody on your back, and then you'd go up and then down and then up.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It was
brilliant!
horrific.
Yeah,
The worst one was bunny hops. Do you remember having to do them?
yeah, yeah.
We used to have like, and it was always around a circuit around the room
Mm.
or two circuits. We had a bloody big room. It was like, yeah,
Yeah,
we used to have to bunny up round it. And if somebody turned up late, what was really good about back then was you were punished for being late.
yeah,
Do you remember? You turned up a minute late. It's like, why are you late? Bunny ups. Didn't matter what excuse.
no,
Do you know what I mean? Well, bunny ups. And also the other thing was if you I always remember this, if you missed a few lessons, right, you couldn't just go back. You had to ask to go back. Like they had to accept you back,
oh,
sort of
okay.
thing.
Oh, right,
It
okay.
was like a
I never
walk
had that
back.
one.
It was like no, no, you can't come back if you've gone, mate. The holidays, everybody knew when someone was on holiday because they wouldn't have to ask to come back. Do you know what I mean? It was like understood. It was
Yeah,
like a weird one. That one was.
yeah.
Somebody like dropped training for a month for no reason. It was a big deal if you let them back in. It
Wow.
was, yeah, yeah. It was a big deal. It's mad, isn't it?
Mm, definitely.
Yeah. I do miss some of the stuff, but then other stuff's just too brutal. It's like you can
I
you
don't,
can hold
yeah,
your head up and say, well, we went through it and
yeah.
it was tough training, but
It's nice
you know,
talking about it, and it's nice talking to um, somebody who experienced it.
yeah,
Because obviously, when you train now, and you've got the new generation coming in,
yeah.
and you,
Well,
and you, and you
let's
look
put
at
it
them
like
and
this.
think you ought to be glad you're doing that, and not what we
Yeah,
used to
yeah.
have to do.
Well, if we did what we used to have to do for 2 minutes and somebody saw it happening, that club would get shut down
That
immediately.
I was just going to say that's the other thing as well now, isn't it? With clubs,
Yeah.
the red tape. There is too much red tape. Never caused us any harm.
No, no.
Um,
The weird thing is boxing is pretty much unchanged. Do you know what I mean?
right, okay. I've never done boxing. Never done
No,
boxing.
but what I mean by that is boxing. You know, when you train to the boxing,
Mm,
the end goal is you're in a ring with another guy and you're punching each other in the face
yeah.
to knock each other out, and yeah, and that's never changed. And I don't understand with other contact sports why they feel the need to come in and just ruin it by saying, right, you can't train to do it that way because it's too brutal. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah. Do you think it's down to what organisation you're with?
I think it's a social acceptance kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
And I think, see, I'm sort of lucky because like, I'll push it. Do you know what I mean? I won't do stuff that I know. What I won't do is stuff that I know is going to actually hurt people.
Oh, cool. Of
Like,
course. Yeah.
yeah, but you know what I mean. Back in the day, that wasn't even a consideration. It would just be, no, you got to do it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but
Well,
like,
the
I'll push it
mindset was
into,
different though, wasn't it? It was like, right, you're doing a martial art,
yeah,
so you're learning self defense because at the end of the day, once you're not in that dojo, somebody's not going to wait for you to warm up or, oh, hang on, you can't hit me in the face if we're going to have a
yeah,
fight. That attitude's changed, hasn't it?
yeah. But what I'll do as well is if somebody wants to start at the club, say if it's a kid, right, I'll say to them and the parent, you're gonna have to come and watch a few lessons before we'll even like consider teaching you, so you know what's involved. And
That's
then
good.
I'll
That's good.
say to them, you know, you'll get taught one on one, but you know you've got to understand that this is a strict club. There's no messing around.
Mm-hmm.
If you mess around, you're out.
Yeah.
And if we tell you you're gone, you're gone.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? There's no kind of other costs associated to being in the club other than just paying for the lesson.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't owe you anything, sort of thing. If you're training here, you're training here because one, you want to be here, and two, we want to teach you.
Mm.
Otherwise, you know that arrangement's gone.
Yeah.
So like, and I'm not bothered. The way I see it is, you know, if the room's being paid for by the students, you know, I don't need another fiver, and that's all they're bringing. If they're not training, they're just bringing £5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they're coming and they're training hard, then you know I'd let them train for free if I could. But it's all about getting the karate in the room rather than the money.
Yeah.
That's what I think a lot of clubs miss, isn't it?
Yeah. I was
It's
just
about the cash.
I was just going to say that. I think that when I was training with Terry Silvers, he wasn't interested in the money.
Yeah,
He got a job for that.
yeah.
He was interested in teaching people karate, and as long as he could pay for the room, that's all
He
he
was
was
happy.
interested in.
Yeah,
He was
I'm
happy.
the same. I'm the same. I mean, I don't even do like the one thing I'm really opposed to now is the grading. Just the ceremony of it. Just the entire like process of it.
Oh,
So you know
okay.
you would do like a traditional belt grading
Mm,
where you would, you know, say you said earlier, you reach your second dan and all the rest of it. And I get it with downgrades, but for all your other belts, you're going to be performing for the instructors who watch you train every time you go into the room anyway.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So what is the point in turning up for one night in 3 months, paying 4 or 5 times what you normally pay.
Mm.
Well, you know what I'm getting at, don't you?
I
It
know
doesn't
exactly what you're getting at. You
it
should
doesn't
know.
make
You should know that
sense.
student,
Yeah,
shouldn't you? Yeah,
you should know that student because that's your student.
yeah.
Are they that belt or not? Why are they doing it now for this hour and a half? And this is what you're assessing them on, and you didn't do it for the 3 months they've been training with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so that's what I do now. And the good thing about that is I don't profit from it. Do you know what I mean? So like again, just take your money and just get the money out the way.
Yeah,
Don't care.
yeah.
And and it's working better because the other flip side of this is, and I've experienced this, there was somebody that used to train, right? And they wouldn't put the effort in the lesson.
Hmm.
And yet when it was grading time, even though you told them no, you're not good enough, they'd rock up with their like 20, £30 or whatever, take the grading and pass it.
Yeah, I've experienced that myself with somebody. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know where
because
you're coming from.
all of a sudden, it's like you're looking at Jean-Claude Van Damme, and like, where was he last week when I was? Do you know what I mean? It's like
It's that
you're
arrogance
giving,
of, oh, I know how to do this. I haven't got to really
yeah, not
bother
really
this.
trying,
Yeah.
yeah, and then of course, you can't fail them if they've performed it to
Mm.
that level on the night that you said you're assessing them, because then that's wrong.
Yeah.
So there's a flip side to it. So what I've done is I've just closed off the opportunity to take a grade. The
Right. Okay.
opportunity's gone. So
Mm.
you're being assessed from the moment you walk in the door
Mm.
all the time. And I'm still like, I've never been one for giving a belt. Do you know what I mean? If somebody has a belt off me, they've earned it 100%. Doesn't
Oh.
matter how much, you know.
Oh man, I'm all for that.
Yeah. So like the opportunity for coming in and blindsiding everybody by being really good one night out of 3 months or 6 months is gone. And it's all about just, yeah, you, you've hit the next level sort of thing. Um, so I'm sort of against that. I don't like, I'm not trying to change anyone else's opinion on it, but
No.
personally, you know, I don't see the point in it. Whereas, I can imagine a lot of instructors would be like, yeah, but the grading night's worth like 300 quid to me.
Oh, you see, that's
And
what.
that's the problem I have with it. That's the
Mm.
problem I've always had with karate. And
There's a lot of politics, unfortunately. I mean, I've never got involved in it. I've got no
yeah,
time for it. But there's a lot of politics with different clubs, and it's because of the money aspect of it.
always the money. It's
Yeah,
always all about the money.
yeah.
If you took the money out of everything, if the church where we trained at weren't charging me for the rent, I wouldn't charge the students.
Mm.
But I wouldn't just teach anyone. I'd still be teaching the same people and anyone that come in and genuinely showed an interest and had the right attitude to train.
Yeah,
No money involved. Because for me, you know, it doesn't cost me anything personally to run the club, right? So I'm not bothered about making a profit. It's not costing me anything. If I was training at someone else's club, it would actually be costing me money. Do you know what I mean? So I'll pay my insurances to be an instructor, the club registration, all of that stuff.
yeah.
But then I'll get that money back. And it's like, do you know what I mean? For me, I'm training for free.
Mm.
So when I get in the lineup and train, I'm training for free, and that's what I get out of it.
Yeah,
And also teaching is what I get out of it. But this financial thing is like that's what's killed karate in the UK. It's probably killed it everywhere else, to be fair. But it's like the sad thing about it is you've got little pockets now of clubs that are still doing it right, and they're just keeping themselves to themselves because as soon as they pop their head up, do you know what I mean? They're a target then.
yeah. Mm. It's a shame. Really is a shame.
It is a shame.
Have
But
you
yeah,
ever have you ever trained with Sensei Katsu?
yes,
He's
yes.
amazing, isn't
Yeah, he calls me Wolverine.
he? Does he?
Anytime, like, yeah, if I wish him happy birthday or anything, or he'll call me Sabretooth.
Mm.
He thinks I look like his brother.
He just
Yeah, he moves phenomenally.
and he's such. I don't think he's a very high grade, is he? Not what he should be, but
not what he should be.
he's not interested.
No.
He's another pure, what I would call a pure spirit to karate, where he just wants to teach it, and it's just him as a whole, isn't it? But then
Yeah.
when you get him out of the DJ, when you get him out of the dojo, it's
Oh, he's just a regular, really nice
he's
guy.
lovely, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's definitely like one of the, you know, one of the best characters
yeah,
still going that's doing it the old way.
yeah, got a lot of respect for Sensei
Yeah,
Katsu, definitely.
yeah. But
Um,
you've just got to look at the way the guy moves. I mean, he's phenomenal to watch, isn't he?
he is, yeah,
And then when you hear him teaching, and he makes it all sound really simple, and then you've got like a room full of about 60 people trying to emulate what they've just seen, and it's like, yeah, it's child's play to him.
and he changes everything up as well, doesn't he? Like
Yeah,
with katas,
yeah,
and you start to learn things that you never even thought of, because everybody thinks they know their early katas, but then you get somebody like him going through the early katas, and you're like, oh, you know what? I
yeah,
didn't think of that, and it gives you a whole new
yeah.
outlook of what you were actually doing. Yeah, fascinating.
That's a rarity now, though. These courses that come up. I've sort of stopped going on them
Okay.
because the Katsu's courses I'll go on, but like the ones that are like high profile, this guy's like a 10 times world champion and blah blah blah, or people like Jesse Enkamp are putting a course on the Karate Nerd from YouTube and all the rest of it. And what they actually teach you is crap.
Mm.
They don't teach you anything. Do you know what I mean? Like,
There's a lot of talking involved.
there's just a lot of talking involved. I'm a fifth dan,
Mm.
and I've never, well, I have done. That's like an injustice to say I've never, but it's very rare that I'll pay someone £10 and come away doing what you've done and thinking, oh, you know what I mean? That was good. I'll have a think about that. I'll
Yeah.
think on that a bit more
Mm.
because that's a really good course.
Yeah.
Or if they just show you a technique that you can see will apply
Mm.
to everything. Do you know what I mean? And it's like really rare to the point that the people that are putting the courses on, there's no point to the course unless it's like a looked at as a social gathering. I really struggle with it all because and it's the money. It's getting 100 people in a room and charging them a tenner or whatever to see like a world champion.
Yeah.
She said that's fair enough, but like the classic one is when they get the bloody elastic bands out and put them around your waist. And that's a classic. I know personally that when you get elastic bands out and put it around a martial artist's waist, you've got nothing to show. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing you're going to show me. Well, you're going to have me like punch a couple of times with an elastic band on.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I'm against all of that stuff. Oh,
It should evolve, shouldn't it? Whatever
yeah,
martial art you're doing, or whether it's boxing or whatever, things should evolve, because all sports evolve. Otherwise, you'd never have any records broken.
yes,
So karate should evolve, and there's things that you do, and there's moves that you learn you would never use in a real fight. We've all been there before,
yeah, yeah,
but there's ways of looking at, and that's why. I mean, I've always took away something from certain senseis, and it's like Agiyuki block, for instance. A lot of clubs, that's the block. Somebody goes to try and punch you in the face. That's the block you use. You would never use that block in a
nah,
million years. If somebody was coming to punch you, you would use a variant of it.
mm,
Um, but then you might have somebody who'll say, "Okay, use it as a strike." Brilliant. I was never taught originally. I was never taught that Agiyuki could be used as a strike. So it
yeah,
took somebody else to show me that.
yeah.
But then you could use it for so many different things.
Do you know? Um, this is how I see it all in terms of that. In terms of like your basics, your key on is that those moves all they're teaching you to do is like
To train your body, isn't it?
it's just to train your body.
Yeah.
It's actually to train efficiency.
Mm.
Is what it's there to do. It's to train efficiency, and if you do it properly, you'll never use the moves as you're doing them in a basic, because it's like when when you spar, that would block a punch, that would block a punch, that would block a kick. Yeah, Agyuki. Yeah, they're like massive exaggerations of it,
Yeah. But it's all
aren't they?
strengthening up those parts of your
Yeah,
body, isn't
it's
it?
strengthening those parts up, but it's training your arm to perform those moves.
The muscle
And then when you
memory.
come to
Yeah.
fight, it's shorter.
Yeah.
And it's like you train your recovery doing the moves.
Yes. Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like you train your ability to move from particular positions that are unnatural to move from.
Yeah.
Because it's all unnatural. And that's what people can't wrap their head round.
Mm.
It's like you say about the Agyuki being, you're never gonna block. Well, you're not. You wouldn't. You
No.
know what I mean? There's one scenario where you would use it, and that's if somebody's coming overhead,
Yeah.
and you
Which.
would you wouldn't meet it to do an Agyuki. You would probably meet it just to get the arm.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's the only one scenario in that example,
Mm.
where in a real world scenario you might perform that action like that, but they're there to train efficiency. The striking is well, and it's also strengthening. So, like if you think of kicking, you know, anyone can throw a Mayageri that looks like a Mayageri, but you get somebody who's trained in deep stances, like a Shotokan guy, to
Mm.
kick somebody Mayageri, and all of a sudden you're dealing with broken ribs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And because their legs have been strengthened.
Mm.
Like when I used to do the gym a lot when I was younger, and my legs were like tanks compared to all the other guys in there. Somebody come up to me and said, "When do you do your leg day?" So what do you mean, do my leg day? He says, "Your legs are awesome." So what do you mean, my legs are awesome? These are like normal legs. He went, "Nah, they're so like muscular and that."
Mm.
So I do karate. Oh, okay.
So all those years of low stances,
All the years of low stances and stuff.
because it bloody
But it's
hurts. That's
Yeah,
the
it
thing.
really does hurt, but that's what it's training. It's training up the strength that all of these guys in the gym aren't getting in the legs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So when you kick someone, it's like that's the game over,
Mm.
sort of thing. So it's all to do with that. It's all to do with muscle memory, uh, efficiency. I would say 100% it's about efficiency. If you sort of cast your mind back, or if you've seen enough new starters to karate coming in,
Mm.
the big problem is like coordination.
Oh
They
God, yeah.
can't they can't move two limbs at the same time. Do you know what I mean? And doing basics, that's what it's actually training.
Well,
It's training that.
if you're right-handed, you naturally will always use the right-hand side. And
Yeah,
what karate does, or different other martial arts, is suddenly you've got to start using your left-hand side.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if you've found over the years, because karate helps you in so many different ways, you start to be able to. You're almost ambidextrous. You might not be able
Almost.
to. You might not be able to. I mean,
Right.
right, but
Yeah,
you can quite happily. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I noticed it with just eating. I swap constantly when I'm eating.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
I'm
what's
the
that all
same.
about?
I'm the same. Sometimes I'll catch myself with a fork in the other hand.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. But I know exactly what you're saying, because you do it an even amount
Yeah.
both sides, don't you?
Mm.
And it's there's no tolerance for which is your best and which is your worst stand. It's got to look right both sides to an instructor, which is true, isn't it? You've
Yeah.
got to perform it with your left leg forward and your right leg forward just as much.
Mm.
So like it's got to look exactly the same no matter what half of your body is doing it. So whether it's your good half or your bad half, it's still got to look. So you're right. You do end up almost ambidextrous. I
Well,
would
my
say that's accurate.
one of my um, things that I used to do, and it's completely by accident, is I fight when I'm sparring southpaw,
Yeah,
but I'm right-handed, and that throws everybody.
yeah, yeah. What I find really funny about sparring is when you change your stance.
Yeah.
So like if you're sparring somebody and you just change your foot position,
Mm.
so the other foot forward, the other person instinctively does exactly the same.
Yeah.
They can't help themselves.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Mm.
like they've just got to do it.
Yeah.
And I always think that level of control you've got over the opponent or
Yeah.
partner, I should say, rather than opponent, that's phenomenal, isn't it? When you like realise I'm in your head.
Yeah.
I just like move my feet, and you've got to do exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's really funny, but yeah, it's I don't know. This must be something about karate as I'm still doing it. I
Yeah.
just think now it's like I'm putting up with a lot of pain. It's still bearable. I'll just keep going
Mm. I do
till.
need to pop along to your club. I think
Yeah,
I
mate, you're
really
more
do.
than welcome.
I
You're
need
more than
I need
welcome
an
to come.
excuse just to put my gi back on. I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Um,
you know a few of us anyway, so
mm,
you're just becoming a meeting friends,
yeah. Yeah.
just training.
I just want my son to carry on. He got to his blue belt. It's weird actually because that's what I did before when I had my break. He
Yeah,
got to his blue belt, and yeah, I want him to get his black. I really do, and beyond, because that's another issue, isn't it? With some students, they think, "Oh, I've got my black belt now. That's it." No,
yeah.
no. You, this is
No,
you're
it
learning now.
starts.
Yeah, you're
That's it.
learning
It
now.
starts at that belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
know exactly what you mean.
mm.
But is he so is he given any indication that he wants to go back? Have you sort of spoke?
I I think it's going to be a case of saying, "Come on, get off your computer. I'm taking you to the club. See what you think." Um, and because we was, as I say, we was training with Nick for a little bit because he only had a small club, so there was only a few
Yeah,
people there, and he liked that. He liked that. When we were training at Leslie's, even
it
though
is crap.
I loved his club, and his attitudes and methods and whatever. Um, it got to the stage where there was just too many students in there,
Yeah,
and I think that can cause problems with, especially the students who are at the back, your starters. Even though I was helping out every now and again, and I'll be going around the lines and putting them right. When you go to a club, your main focus is the centre, isn't it?
mm, yeah,
Um, you're not really you're not really paying any attention to the other black belts or senpais who are there. You want to see the main guy. He's the guy who needs to be teaching you, because if you've
yeah.
got somebody who's been taught wrong the next row up or doesn't listen or whatever, you're just going to
Yeah,
follow that person, and it
yeah,
just goes
that's
all the way
passing that.
around, doesn't it?
Yeah,
So my focus really is to get him into a smaller club. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, we'll pop. We'll make a date. We'll pop
yeah.
along.
Pop along. You're more than welcome. And yeah, it'd be nice to see you like in the lineup, and I'll train with you and stuff. We'll
Yeah,
just have a good time.
yeah, it'd be good.
Nothing like the 80s and 90s. No black eyes. No nothing.
Oh,
Just good train. You'll feel like you've done enough when you leave, but
oh,
not be. You'll be looked after, mate.
yeah.
We'll,
No,
we'll, we'll have a good time.
sounds
But
good.
yeah,
My biggest problem now is memory. Katas. It's just
yeah. Well,
um,
the thing with that is we go through katas now quite often, so we do all of them as well. We've got them all down now, but
yeah,
we allocate time to run through, so it's not remembering them is not too bad now. I think the problem with kata and karate is you rarely sort of go through some of the stuff in the lessons, whereas we just make time to do it in the lesson now as well.
yeah.
So it's getting a bit easier.
Oh,
But
good.
yeah, we've done assessments for grades as well. just finished doing them, so we've got a couple of belts to award. But
Yeah.
out of a class of about like 12, there's 2 people that are getting belts. So like it's not, it's certainly not a belt every 3 months and all the rest of it. And these people that are getting this belt, they're gonna feel like they've earned
They've
it. So
earned it,
it's
and that's the
good.
main thing, isn't it? Feeling that you've earned
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and all the other people that aren't getting them, they know why.
Yeah,
But there's no failure.
yeah,
Is the other good thing about it this way? Nobody fails a grade because
yeah.
you just didn't get it.
No
You know.
animosity or
Yeah.
yeah, I totally get it,
Yeah.
mate. It's been amazing talking to you.
Love it.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. Thanks for doing this for us,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I'll catch you soon, mate.
Yes.
As
Good
again,
stuff.
thanks very much.
Cheers, Brett.